What's going on, cat daddies and cat mamas? This is your boy ProHoeZak, and you listening to Conversations with the homie Chad Kiser. Get it now.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to Conversations with Chad, where we talk to industry leaders in music, entertainment, sports, and business. I am your host, Chad Kiser. On today's episode, we're talking with an East Palo Alto legend whose catalog features numerous songs and collaborations with many of the music industry's hottest and most iconic artists, like Too Short, Tupac, E40, Digital Underground, and so many more. Please welcome East Palo Alto legend, ProHoeZak. What's good, homie?
What's good with you, cat daddy?
Let's get into it. Talk to me about growing up in East Palo Alto and discovering your love of music.
Well, I'm born and raised East Palo Alto, born at Stanford Hospital. You know what I mean? I'm a Capricorn. I was born a week early, so I was supposed to be a Capricorn, so I'm a Capricorn. So I'm a Sagittarius, so I call myself a Capricorn, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm basically, I played a lot of sports in East Palo Alto, to a point to where it just wasn't working for me, you know what I mean? So I had to find something else to get into, so I got into that music shit, you know what I mean? DJing and hip hopping back in the 80s, you know what I mean? So my hip hop roots starts there back in 86 when I was DJing, and then, went through a few names and stuff, which we'll talk about later on, but that's where it all started. My roots, my home, East Palo Alto, where I started DJing first.
Before the evolution to ProHoeZak, you were known as C-Funk, and before that, Captain Crunch. Talk about your early career working with your group Rated X with Cool Breeze and DJ Ajax.
Okay. Before there was DJ Ajax, I had DJ T-Jam. So it was me, Cool Breeze, and T-Jam. And me and Cool Breeze went to high school. T-Jam was younger than us. And right after in my senior year of high school, we had got signed to an independent label called Tandem Records. And one of the CEOs of Tandem was Cameron Paul. Late, great. He passed away a few years back. He was a big time DJ for KMEL, and he's also the one that remixed that Salt and Pepper Push It. He's the one that made Push It and blew Push It up. He played the Simps in that. So that was my CEO, my record president, and we dropped a few albums from him from 89 all the way up to like 93. So that's what I did first when I, because I was in high school, winning a bunch of talent shows, and we somehow we got a demo to Tandem, and they heard it, and immediately they wanted to sign me, and that's where it all started right there for my hip hop career, for me rapping.
Now, this is the time when you're going by the name Captain Crunch, correct?
Yes, Captain Crunch, the lead rapper of Rated X, yes.
And General Mills, who made the Captain Crunch cereal, came after you for using the same name.
That's when people start seeing hip hop making money and revenue, and then it was like saying it was like conflict, and you can't use that name because we own the rights to that name. So I had to change my name. So they cease and desist. Anything consistent with my name of Captain Crunch, radio interviews, magazine interviews, you can't use that. And plus, I spelled it the same way too. So they had to shut that down quick.
You then moved to the name C-Funk. How did you come up with that alias name?
Well, an artist that I was producing, his name is Chunk. He named me that because I was a Parliament Funkadelic head. You know what I mean? And I loved the name Captain Crunch so much I didn't want to change it, but he said, look, we'll just take the C and call you C-Funk. Cause I was sitting there trying to think of a new name call myself, and he just came with it with the snap of a finger. And from then on, I was C-Funk. It stuck with me.
In the late 80s, early 90s, you went on tour with Digital Underground and Tupac. How did you connect with Digital Underground, and what was that like, hanging with a young Tupac city to city on tour?
Well, see, Flava Flav is my cousin, and they, Public Enemy was the headliner, and Digital Underground was one of the groups that was the on the roster, you know, like the opening acts that opened for Public. That's how I met. I met Shock G. I met Pac. I already knew Money B because Money B had a brother that stayed around the corner from me in East Palo Alto. So I always knew that Money rapped. And I heard he was in a group called Digital Underground, but they didn't really, you know, they was just coming up just as us, but they just went to Tommy Boy and got that big break, that big deal. So I already knew Mon. I met Pac with Shock G in Sacramento, and I was walking carrying some boxes for Chuck D, and I bumped into Tupac and we got into it. We almost had a fight. He was by his dressing room, and I kind of bumped into him, and he stepped to me, and we exchanged some words, and, you know, I got in trouble for, you know, always getting into it with motherfuckers and shit, but that's how me and Pac met. And then later on, I got cool with them, got cool with Shock. Money B introduced me to Shock, and the rest was history from there.
Now, speaking of Tupac, you produced So Many Tears off Tupac's Me Against the World album with Shock G. Can you detail the story of putting that track together with Pac and Shock G?
Okay, this how this worked. We were in New York, we were in Pennsylvania, and I got signed to Priority Records, Scarface Priority Records with Paris. Me and Shock G and my other rapper named Mozilla went down there to record some songs with Shock. We did a song, and you can go online. It's called People Over the Stairs. It's on the Digital Underground Lost Files. It never came out, but he released it later called People Over the Stairs. And that was a track that me and Pac got on and we worked on. So since that song never came out, Shock G kind of added more stuff to it and then gave it to Pac. But originally, it's called People Over the Stairs. So if you listen to the song, you will hear the resemblance in the song. So go to Digital Underground Lost Files, and you will see a song called People Over the Stairs. And that's how that came about. Because at that time, Shock G was staying in Pennsylvania in the Poconos. We went out there for a month to work on a bunch of tracks. And that was one of the tracks that we worked on. You'll hear the bass line in there, you'll hear the drum track, you'll hear all that shit. And then Shock tweaked it a little bit and then end up giving that shit to Pac. At that time, Pac was going to court, I think it was January or December of 95 or 94. December 94 or January 95 for that case he went to jail for that rape shit. So it was around that time. And I explained that on BET Rap City. If you could, I can shoot you the interview with Joe Claire. I was on Rap City explaining that I was working on tracks with Shock back then. So it'll all add up and all fit in place when you see it. You know what I mean?
I want to go back to something else you mentioned, and I kind of got sidetracked with the whole Tupac topic, but your cousin, actual blood relative, is Flava Flav of Public Enemy. Talk to me about Flava Flav and the Public Enemy connection.
Man, shit. I'm with Flav. I've been with Flav all the way to now. You know what I mean? I just I worked on a lot of stuff with them as far as when I was in high school. Every time they'd come to town, you know, I used to beg them to let me rap on stage and open up their shows. He wouldn't let me do it, But Professor Griff would let me do it. You know what I mean? Or Chuck D let me do it. Or Drew, which is one of the S1Ws, and then he ended up being their sound guy. He'll let me do it. But Flav would net me. Flav would always be Flav. So I always say, man, well, shit, man, I can't, because my cousin there's always people around him. He's doing this, he's doing that. And when they come to town, I'll be with them, but I'll be like, Flav, you know I rap, man. Why don't you let me get on? Let me, like, yeah, I'm going to let you get on. But, you know, the world wanted Flav at that time, so he didn't really have time for me. So I would pull Chuck D to the side. I would pull Professor Griff to the side. I would pull, you know what I mean, Drew to the side. You know what I mean? They'll let me rip. You know what I mean? I got hella footage. Like, I got footage of me ripping shows for Public Enemy, man. You know what I mean? And sometimes I would get to the point where I would steal a car and follow their tour bus to, like, L.A. or Vegas. You know what I mean? Just so I can go open up a show, because that's how bad I wanted it back then. You know what I mean?
So how crazy was it that you're on tour with Digital Underground and Public Enemy? You must have seen quite a bit.
Man, I done seen some shit, man. I done seen them have water fights. But you know, I was quiet. I was in the background, you know what I mean? So you would see me in the pictures and shit. So I'm gonna send you all that shit, you know. But I wasn't really loud. I was just like, I was kind of timid, but I would see what they were doing, and I would just take my mental notes and be like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what I'm supposed to do. Because I was more like a dude that always got in trouble and shit, you know what I mean? And then when I saw it wasn't really about getting in trouble and fighting and all that shit, I started paying attention to, like, what was going on around me. And like, okay, I need to take this shit serious, you know what I mean? And I would get yelled at for stupid shit I do. Like, one of the S1Ws, his name is Mike, and Mike used to be on my ass. I would just do stupid shit. You know, I would fly out without telling him I'm flying out. And he'll go off on me and put me on a plane and send me back home. You know what I mean? That's how bad I wanted it.
What was Flava Flav like, not on the stage, when he was just kind of hanging out?
Let me tell you something. Flav on TV, Flav off the TV. Same dude. Same dude. It's not an act. Flav is Flav. You know what I mean? He's wild. He's a genius when it comes to music. He plays a lot of instruments. He's fun to be around. You know, he just, whatever you see on television, that is really Flav. He's not putting on an act. It's not like, it's nothing fake. You know what I mean? I don't know if you remember. You remember they came out with a video about all their shows called Fight the Power?
Yeah.
Okay, you remember when Flava Flav did a commercial? It was in 1988. He did a commercial, a play commercial, Flava Flav, Cold Lamp and Cereal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I drew that. I drew that in my art class in high school. I made the whole cereal box, and I drew him on there with the little clocks. He poured milk on them and tick.
That's dope.
Yeah, I designed and created that box in high school.
Man, that's crazy. What's the craziest thing you've seen Flav do?
You know what? I can't really say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't really, you know what I mean? He just Flav, man. It's like, what hasn't he done? You know what I mean? I never seen nothing. He just be himself, man. He just like, he has no filter, man. He's just a fun guy to be around. Like I said, man, he's very innovative, very smart. You know, a lot of people think he's just a clown, but he's really not. You know what I mean? He's one of the greatest hype man that ever lived. You know what I mean?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So,
the crazy shit I probably see, the shit we do now, we be arguing at the bowling alley and shit all the time, but that's about it, man. He's the same then as he is now.
You're no stranger to the big moment. And as far back as 1991, you've been featured on MTV with Yo MTV Raps, BET's Rap City, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, Good Morning America, and so many more. Talk to me about some of these big moments in your career and how they have helped push you forward in the industry.
Okay. I I would say, you know, when I was with Joe Claire, that's when I was with Paris. He was my CEO for Scarface Records Priority. You know, that was a big moment for me, being on Rap City, iconic Joe Claire. And I had a single called Lime in Your Coconut that kind of blew up, that I produced with me and my co-rapper Mozilla. And then, you know, it started making noise from there. You know, I started, the engineer that engineered that album, his name is Jason Slater, one of my best friends from high school, who died about 3 weeks ago. He's also one of the producers of Third Eye Blind and Smash Mouth. And he was the one, he's responsible for me getting on Jay Leno, because he introduced me to David Kahn, who was the CEO of Reprise Records, who also produced this rock group called Sugar Ray, who had me do work with them. And I did a song for Sugar Ray called Mr. Bartender. I wrote the whole song, featured on it, and did some touring with them. Was in the group for a few years, you know, doing some road shows and turning out shows on tour. And the song was a single. It's called Mr. Bartender, like I said before, and we got to do it on Jay Leno. We got to do it on Good Morning America. It made a little noise, but overall, that's probably like the highest point of television that I've been on, was that show, dealing with Mark McGrath and the rest of the members of that group, which was it was pretty wild back then.
You've worked with E40 and Too Short on several songs, including their most recent release, Ain't Gon' Do It Terms and Conditions. With you coming up in the Bay Area, how did you initially connect with these two pioneers of Oakland and Vallejo?
Okay, I've been knowing Too Short since I was in high school. You know what I mean? Just in the game, the street game, going to Oakland, seeing him. You know, he know we from East Palo Alto. We say, oh, what's up, Short? My sister battled him a couple of times and shit, you know, like in the Palladium. He chewed her ass up. You know what I mean? But I knew him from the streets and you know, just bumping into him and showing love and respect. And I knew E40 for a long ass time too. You know what I mean? I knew Sugar T and Sally Cell, all his people, before I met 40. And then eventually, you know, me and 40 connected, and he started getting beats for me for his artists. Like I did some early Sally Cell shit. You know what I mean? And then it escalated to me doing some music for him. And we just hit it off, man. I did hella records for him. Like hella records for him. You know what I mean? Which he has a lot of videos with my production on it. And we just connect. He like my big brother. I'm like his little brother, man. We get on the phone, we laugh, we talk about personal issues, we get into it. We argue a lot, but we argue as family, not as like I don't like you, nigga, and no shit like that. That's like my big brother. You feel me?
One of the first joints you did with E40 was Whip It. Can you talk about putting that record together with E40?
I don't know if it was Whip It. I did some other shit. I just can't think right now. But Whip It, he came over to my house and he said, I need you. We was in the house working on, I had moved to San Ramon. So he came over and we was just working on some shit. This is before he had Gucci Mane on the song. And, you know, he'll tell me how he wants the beat to go and we'll just have a whole session. And then when I came with that bass line, some 808s for Whip It, he went crazy. He said, all right, that's it right there. It used to be online when they used to have this one YouTube type channel, but I forgot it was called something, You Play or something. And it showed me and E40 creating that song. But when he heard that, that's when he took that shit and took it. He said, man, I'm gonna get Gucci Mane on this motherfucker. And they went and killed it.
Jumping forward and getting into some more recent events with what you're doing, tell me about working with Too Short on the Ain't Gon' Do It record that just came out this past December.
Well, I thought Too Short, Because already I was working on this. They had told me that they had picked some beats for that album they working over Cuban and Snoop and 40. So I said, well, what you doing now? Because Too Short hopped on a couple of my albums years ago, so we already had a chemistry. You know what I mean? And then I used to get him I knew people that wanted to buy verses from him, so I would plug him. But some people will be plugging him like I need something out of that. I just plugged him because it's just I just want to make that connection. So we were on the phone last month. I said, Too Short, I'm gonna make you a hit. I said, I'm gonna send you a beat. I need you to put 2 verses on it and send that motherfucker back. He said, all right. I sent it to him, and I put a hook on it. He sent it back, and he took me off the hook. And I was just like, well, shit, why you take me off the hook? That's what he said, man, I just like my shit simple. I said, all right. So I started building it more around him, and then I sent it back to him, and I said, you got a hit. And he was like, it got potential. I said, man, fuck that. You got a hit. He said, okay, yeah, it sounds cool. And that's when he took me to Snoop. And Snoop and them was like, as you saw on that video, you saw the reaction, right?
Yep.
So Corrupt had told me, he was like, man, Snoop played that motherfucker 20 times. I was juiced, man. I was like, damn. You feel me? So that's how that came about. I just called him and told him, I'm going to make you a hit. I'm going to send you some shit. And he sent them vocals quick. He sent them like later on that day. He don't bullshit when he do his shit, man.
You mentioned the Snoop Dogg, Too Short, E40, and Ice Cube project. And Snoop recently premiered a new Mount Westmore song while talking with Julio G on Instagram. The song features all of Mount Westmore. Talk to me about putting that record together and working with these 4 icons on the upcoming Mount Westmore project.
Man, this would happen. I said, I'm about to send Snoop some funky fucking shit, because Snoop like the funk. And I already was dealing with Snoop for a couple of months. I just like, this is like the first time I met Snoop was 3 years ago when I was doing work with Teddy Riley, producing Teddy, and me and Teddy went to go see Snoop perform. So I was introduced to Snoop, but he didn't know I made beats. So then nothing happened with that. So later on down the line, I asked Sugar Free to introduce me to Snoop. Sugar Free told me to go meet Big Percy at the clothing store. Then he made that connection. So Snoop was like, man, well, make me some beats, because I talked to him on FaceTime. So I said, okay. So then I looked at my arsenal, and I said, I started studying him. I said, man, he ain't never did no shit to no Aqua Boogie, right? Because that's the song that you heard was Aqua Boogie. So I just started replaying that motherfucking, man. It came with a motherfucking, like, I did the, played the keys, did the drums, I produced everything myself, no help. And then I said, man, wait a minute, this would be a cool ass song to do an intro. So I got on the mic and did the intro too. I emailed that shit to Snoop. That motherfucker said, man, he said that shit was fire. And they hopped on that motherfucker, man, and we, man, the rest is history. But I was already working on some beats for him within the past couple of months, because I really started doing work for Snoop like within the past 4-5 months. I'll say 4 at the least.
And that's you on there doing all the intros for everybody?
Yeah, that's me. I put that on there, right? I put it on there before they even heard it. Loved it. They loved it. But of course, my nigga 40 made me redo his intro, so because 40 got to do it. You got to name everything that champ do. So I had to redo E40 shit.
Is there a name for that song?
I don't know. They didn't give it a name yet. They just dropped it on there. You know what I mean? And man, they did it quick. This shit was hot. I was like, man, this shit is fire, man.
With this Mount Westmore project on its way, how many ProHoeZak records can we look forward to hearing on it?
I'm gonna be straight up with you. I know for a fact that they hopped on 5 of my tracks. They hopped on 5 of my tracks. maybe 6. I don't know if they're going to keep 6, but I know for a fact they rapped on 5.
What were your initial thoughts when you heard about Cube, Short 40, and Snoop, and then putting this group together? And how were you approached to be a part of it?
I said it was a wrap. I said, them 4, it's over. It's a wrap. The world about to see some shit. And I'm going to tell you like this. I didn't know that I was on it. E40 told me. It was just like, I called E40 because I was doing, because you know me and E40 got a single out now called $19 Lap Dance that I produced with me, 40, and Sugar Free. So, and that's me on the hook and on the beat. So that shit, and that video will be out hopefully next month. But 40 told me that they were working on some shit. He said, man, I sent some of your beats and they went crazy over it and they rapped on them. And he let me hear it over the phone. I said, oh shit, Snoop on my shit? On my new shit? I was like, wow, that's pretty dope. He said, yeah, it's me, Snoop, Short, and Ice Cube. And I was like, oh shit, it's about to go down. I was excited about it, and I was excited that they liked my shit. You know what I mean?
Before we close, is there anything I didn't cover that you'd like to mention?
E40 released a song in May of last year called $19 Lap Dance. He heard me online making it, and he called me like, what's that? I said, well, I'm working on this new character that I'm coming up with. And he said, nah, send that shit to me right now. So I sent it to him, and I sent it to him back in 2018. He released it last year, and he put Sugar Free on it. Sugar Free killed that motherfucker. Then E40 killed it, and then I killed it with the hook. You know what I mean? With the hook and the beat. And they've been playing that shit in the radio in the strip club, going crazy right now. You know what I mean? And it's just a slapping ass dance track, strip club track, hood slap in your trunk track. You know what I mean? So, you know, people are hearing it, and then like everybody's saying, I want a song like that. So I made Too Short that I Ain't Gonna Do It. It's kind of like that. Snoop wanted one, so I made him one called Say It With Your Booty. You know what I mean? I did a lot of, like within the past 4 months, man, I've been doing a lot of production for Snoop for his solo album, for his Lowrider. He got a Lowrider Slow Jam album coming out. Even playing little snippets on his Instagram and shit. And right now, I'm working on. Matter of fact, let me take that back. They just picked another song from me yesterday, so that might be 7 songs on that Mount Westmore. But I haven't met Cube yet, but he knows of me, and I just want to. That's my next thing, to try to get some tracks to Cube and do some production for him.
ProHoeZak, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. We definitely look forward to the upcoming projects you have coming up, and hopefully you'll come back and talk with us again soon.
Yes, sir.
And that concludes this episode of the Conversations with Chad podcast. Be sure to check us out at chadkiser.com. We'll be back soon. Thanks for listening.